Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review the Paramount Plus original revival film, Zoey 102. And yes, this is a revival of the show Zoey 101, starring Jamie Lynn Spears, which unceremoniously got canceled when she became a pregnant teenager. And now, years later, my age to be exact, we have Nancy Howard who directs this return, which focuses on Zoey trying to balance work and attending Quinn, her best friend Aaron Sanders' wedding, and this is a hot mess. And let me preface something. So I have never watched the show Zoey 101, so I don't have the weight and the baggage and the reference to come into this. I think they do they do a good enough job of setting up these characters and helping you understand where they all play out. That wasn't a problem. So kudos to this film to be able to set this up that people who haven't watched before can at least come in and have a basic understanding. Or potentially have a wife who could explain minimal details that she remembered from watching the show. The challenge is you're bringing back all these actors. Not all of them are good actors. Most of them are not. And some of them are pretty glaring. I don't think Jamie Lynn Spears exactly gives the best performance here. I also don't think Zoey's the most likable or engaging or interesting protagonist. Honestly, the whole entire movie, I cared much more about Quinn. I'm like, I want to be where Quinn's at. How's she doing? I think Sanders does a fine job. You have this whole storyline of, Zoey hires an actor to be there as her date because she doesn't want to confront Chase Matthews, the love of her dreams from high school, that she screwed things up with. She's trying to constantly hide the fact that she's trying to work and also attend this wedding. Her boss, Thomas Lennon, who probably is the only consistently funny person in this whole entire movie, because, he has a lot of experience and also very funny. And his character is like the worst over-the-top caricature of, bad bosses. But he's fun, he's funny, it works. The rest of the film is filled with unbelievable awkward occurrences, cringe comedy, and the cringiness is too much. Just too much. They try to set up all these awkward situations and we'll get a laugh out of it. It's bad. It's not interesting. It's not done well. And there's not a lot of laughs to be had. It leans in so many tropes and cliches of, my best friend wedding kinds of films that it just doesn't feel fresh or interesting in any way. And these characters, most of them don't get a whole lot to breathe to begin with or anything interesting to do. So it kind of just feels like a moot point. But then, I was willing to give this a 2 out of 5, 1.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. And then the last shot of the movie happened. So we had a choice. There's a strange subplot of one of the friends from high school, Pacific Coast Prep, the Pacific Coast Academy. She's in this friend group, and so is her husband, and they work on a podcast about catching murderers. And there's the Malibu murderer. They introduce it, they make accusations, stuff like that. I thought for a second it was just going to be complete, just loose thread left, which isn't great, but it's not the worst. And then they have a revelation about it that completely undercuts a lot of moments that happen in the trying to be satisfying ending of this, and also is a horrible, obnoxious betrayal of the tone and the good spiritness overall of this movie. And I'm just I'm done. They just ruined this to the core by the end. And legitimately by the end of this movie, I had no strong good feelings at all. Except I'd probably watch a show where Thomas Lennon's character is in it consistently as a horrible boss in the entertainment industry. And that's about it. Weak acting, weak writing in terms of narrative, which just borrows a whole lot of things from things. Horrible decisions in terms of character motivations and revelations apparently, and overall this just felt like an afterthought all these years later of like, well, what if we tried to wrap this up? And, you know, when you're much more interested in one of the best friends in the film being your main character because they're that much more interesting, it's a bad sign. And it did not turn out well for this movie. But those are my thoughts for Zoey 102. Let me know what you think. Let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.